The regionals of the NCAA Volleyball Tournament get started this weekend. Before I get going on this next round of volleyball, I want to acknowledge and appreciate the last round of volleyball that we just watched. You know, in 96 hours, we watched 48 matches. Well, maybe we didn't watch them all. We watched 8 of those matches go to 5 sets, 11 of them go to 4 sets, and some really competitive 3 sets even in that. So some huge volleyball happening, so much competition in this tournament. The level of volleyball has been excellent. So I am truly enjoying it. I hope you are too. On Thursday, 2 of the regional sites will start play. And so on your left side of the bracket, you'll see Pitt's going to go active and Louisville will go active. So on Thursday, December 12th, 12 o'clock at Central Time, Kentucky's going to take on Mizzou. Mizzou is a 7 seed, but they beat SMU in the last round. SMU had that roller coaster of a season. They beat top teams like Nebraska and Pitt, but they also lost to teams. They didn't control their errors. And then unfortunately for SMU, the night they played Mizzou, they were not able to control those errors. So they lost. Mizzou's in Pitt. They're going to play Kentucky at 12 o'clock. And then as soon as that match finishes, or around 2 o'clock, Pitt's going to take on Oregon. And then the other site goes active next. So Louisville at 6 p.m., Stanford's going to play Florida. Florida was a 6 seed in this tournament, is a 6 seed in this tournament, and they played Kansas in the last round, a 3 seed. Florida was a 6 seed because they had injuries throughout the season and they didn't beat teams that they probably would have had they had their starting setter, Alexis Stuckey, or their starting right side, Kennedy Martin. She's a 6'6" go-to player. She gets more than half the sets for Florida. So those 2 players didn't play the whole season. In fact, Alexis Stuckey didn't play in the first round of the NCAA tournament. She only played against Kansas so far this tournament. I expect we'll see her the rest of the tournament if she stays healthy. She makes this team much better. So Florida's going to play Stanford, and then when that match concludes, then Louisville will play Purdue, all in Louisville. So that's Thursday, and then Friday is when Penn State and Nebraska sites go active. And so at 12 o'clock, Creighton's going to play Texas, and then when that match concludes around 2:30, Penn State's going to play Marquette. Marquette's a 5 seed. They beat Utah, a 4 seed, in the last round. They looked so much better than they had against Creighton in their conference finals. I didn't think they looked good at all, but they did against Utah. They've advanced. They'll play Penn State. Then over to the Devaney Center in Nebraska at 6 p.m., Wisconsin's going to play Texas A&M. Texas A&M is a 6 seed. They beat Arizona State in the last round. And then at around 8:30, depending on when the previous match concludes, Nebraska's going to play Dayton. Dayton's a 5 seed. They beat Baylor, a 4 seed, in the last round. It was a back and forth 5-set match. Both teams really played well in this match, but Dayton's coming out of it, so that's who Nebraska will see. I thought it was interesting to talk about the conferences and who is still active there. So the Big Ten, the ACC, and the SEC all started with 9 teams in there. 5 of those for the Big Ten remain, 5 for the SEC, 3 for the ACC. The Big East started with 2, and they still have 2. And then the Atlantic 10 started with 2, and they just have the 1. So those are your 16 teams by conference. I thought that was an interesting thing to see how the conferences fared throughout the tournament. So Dayton against Nebraska. It's important, and I got a few comments that I should bring back the whiteboard. So I did that. Here's the whiteboard. And we're going to talk about defense. Because what Dayton does is Dayton has an excellent outside hitter. She's 5'8", and she really beats teams up. She breaks apart their defense. And so I want to talk about defense and how teams set up and what Nebraska might do against her. Okay, so this is Nebraska over here right now. The ball's on the other side of the court. Dayton has it, and they're passing the ball right now. This will also look the same once this pass comes forward and the setter has the ball. The defense will wait, and this is called their home or their base position, right? So passers, these 2 are responsible if the setter dumps the ball right into this little campfire space, and then a deep middle back position here. This is where Merritt Beeson plays, where Harper Murray plays. Okay, so but once the ball gets set out to here, okay, so ball's over here, then obviously, gotta figure out how to do this for you guys. Okay, so obviously this blocker comes here, and then the floor defense is gonna set up like this. Let me erase and set it up for you. You can do it a couple of different ways, because what's supposed to happen is one more player. Okay, so this blocker came over here. The block is set up here, and in theory, they should take away this whole pie piece, right? The ball should not be able to get there if the block is well formed. So then the other player is set up around the block. This player is probably going to drop off a little bit, depending on what this player does, what this hitter does. This player would come in here sometimes. We've seen against Anna Schmeck with Wisconsin, will come in here a little bit more for her sharper shots. Here's that middle back player. She shifted from here, and now she's over here. And then this is the line digger. She's going to dig sharp line shots. Now, if a player is beating us and hitting this deep corner, we can also shift this middle back player and adjust our defense here. So this is part of that scouting report that we talk about all the time. Jalen Reyes sets us up for Nebraska. We're going to find out what these hitters' tendencies are, and then we're going to start with one plan, and we'll adjust as we go. Now, if this shifts, erase, 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 and the ball gets set to the right side, same thing's going to happen except for in reverse. So this middle blocker, she came over here. So there's Rebecca Alec blocking next to Bergen Riley. Here comes the line digger. There's Lainey Choboy down the line. Now the block should be taking away a pie piece. We can adjust the block, right? If this player likes to hit this line shot, we'll move our block over. We'll block right on the antenna. And so then this player is going to shift up a little bit. She'll come up a little higher, because the only shot that should be there when the block is all the way to the antenna should be a tip over the block. And so this player does not need to be on the line. She'd shift up and play these tips. All this stuff here would be this line digger, this right back player. Then this middle back, she'll shift over here, because there'll be something available here. This left back player is Lexi Rodriguez. So many players, their strong shot is cross court, right? That's the longest shot distance-wise from hand to contact to where it goes. And then in this situation, the left front player would come off and dig right here. And she'd also be responsible for going forward a little bit too. So it's important for us to think about this when we play Dayton, because their key hitter, like I said, is an outside hitter. She gets more than half double any sets for anybody else. So she's Lexi Almendovar. She's only 5'8". So what does that also mean? It means she's going to use hands, right? She's smaller than any of our blockers, but she's going to use the blocker's hands to get some shots. She's also able to use like a high roll shot. She'll reach real high. She'll snap over the top of the block, and she'll hit the ball in this theoretical spot that we would not be able to hit the ball. So she'll be here, she'll hit high on contact, and she'll roll it, but roll it with a lot of speed into this deep corner where we don't want her to be able to hit it, right? That's the point of the block taking it away. So our defense is going to have to plan and prepare for Lexi Almendova. And they'll do that with some really well-placed defenders. We'll adjust partway through the match. You know, she prefers the cross-court shot, but if she's hitting us line, because that's what we're going to probably end up giving her to begin with, then we'll have to adjust. And it also challenges the hitter if we adjust mid-match. If our block is originally giving her that line, and then for a couple plays we take the line, that makes her adjust, right? She's got to see something different, and she's got to do something different. The other thing that Dayton does is they run a nice slide. The slide defense, it's faster to set up. You don't have as much time to set up because it travels so fast, right? It goes really fast. So the most important thing the defenders can do on defense is when the ball is contact, when the hitter hits the ball, they stop. right? Because then they can adjust and go after a ball that they see with their eyes. Once she hits the ball, if you're still moving, if you're moving in the wrong direction, it takes double that time to react to what she actually hit. So stop on contact when the ball is hit, and then you react from there to what the hitter is giving you. The last defensive setup I'll show you, when hitters hit out of the middle of the court, depending on them, depending on their skill and their ability, we'll just block with one. I expect that for Dayton's first middle that we'll block with two. So that means that Harper Murray and Taylor Landfair will pinch in. Their starting blocking spot will be pinched or closer. So rather than starting way out at the antenna like that, they'll start closer to here. That's their starting. And then when this middle is approaching, they'll pinch, and then they'll have to react faster if she does run that slide to get out to that line. The risk of pinching is that you don't get back out to block the slide. But by not pinching, you're leaving one blocker, which is a fairly skinny window of lane that you're taking away from that middle blocker. So we'll block their middle, at least their first middle, with two blockers. And then these defenders really just stay. These are the angles that are available to her. She can hit here, she can hit here, and then she can hit over or long. So they'll really just stay in that base position when they hit out of the middle. Watch those defensive positions, and if defenders get pinched in too far, like let's say this middle back is way up here, obviously that leaves so much court here that a deep shot anywhere will score. And I know that coaches talked a couple times about Olivia Mock will sometimes get pinched in a little bit. So they really want to stay deep, and that allows them to move forward and use that reaction on defense. So there's a little bit of what you'll see on defense from Nebraska as they play Dayton, and we'll follow up with some more previews of what Dayton might do against us and then what we'll do against Dayton.